Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Soulution Sunday, because being the soul that you are, the grand being of light, that's the solution. Today, our favorite regular guest is back, Keith Leon S., famous film producer of and director of The Inside Effects, How the Body Heals Itself, and international best-selling author, publisher, speaker, and very good friend of mine and of all of us, bringer of love and light to this planet. We're back with Keith today. Keith, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you back.
Thank you. It's great to be back. Thanks for having me. I love it.
You're welcome. I love the topic that you have chosen for us today: defining the laws of the universe, what they are, and how to use them. I love this topic because when I was very, very young, and it was time for me to go to school, get sent off to, I thought, I really don't want to go to school because, to be honest, the only thing I want to know, the only thing I want to learn is, how does the universe work?
Mm.
And I knew they weren't going to teach me that in school. So,
Well, you were an advanced being. I mean, how do they do that? They didn't know how to deal with you, I'm sure.
right? I mean, we are all these advanced beings, but we kind of get unadvanced. We get advanced in reverse by this society that we live in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. Of course, was accused of being a daydreamer and all of that when I was really young, in
Okay.
like elementary school. And quite frankly, I was just bored. I felt like they didn't really have anything to teach me that I didn't already know. So, of course, I'd be looking out the window at nature or anything I could see that might have something for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, my mom went to bat for me like I did when my kids were growing up, and they called me into the office to tell me about my kids. she she was just like, well, then maybe you should do something that would keep his attention. And I thought that was pretty amazing, that she would love me and care enough and take my side and have my back like that. was I loved it. I loved it.
That's why you
And so,
chose her as your mom.
yeah.
Right?
So defining the laws of the universe, interestingly, growing up, I had heard of course, law of gravity is one of the first things we learn in school.
Yeah, they do teach us that one.
Hey, that's cool. And then we heard about attraction, like big time from The Secret, and from Abraham Hicks before that, right? Also known as Esther Hicks or Abraham. I get the two mixed.
Right.
Abraham, Esther Hicks. Uh, and attraction was one of the main things she were always talking about.
Mhm.
And when I was back in 97, 98, I hired a gentleman named Rudy Milanovich at work, and really started to get to know him, and come to find out that his mom was a channeler. And so she was kind of like Abraham before Abraham, right? She was before I ever knew about or heard of Abraham, the channelings. And so Norma Milanovich, his mother, put out this book called The Light Shall Set You Free. And
Mm.
this is it right here. And so I read that, and I was blown away, because she was saying that there's a lot of laws, and that she was going to speak to just 12 of them in her book. And I'm like, 12 of them? What? There's 12 laws? And then she kind of speaks and breaks down what they are, and then she'll channel one of the ascended masters that come through her, and then they did a piece about it. And then there was like a quote at the beginning of each chapter that had to do with the law. So it's like, and these quotes, many of them were from thousands of years ago. So it's like, Buddha knew about these laws,
Yeah.
right? Wow, how cool is that? So there was the 12 that were listed in her book were the law of divine oneness,
Mm.
the law of vibration, the law of action, the law of correspondence. Here's one that I had heard of before as well, the law of cause and effect. That one got thrown around even from when I was little. I think I heard of that one. Uh, the law of compensation. Ooh, can't wait to talk about that one. The law of attraction, the most famous one, and coming in at the most famous is the law of attraction. Uh, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy.
Mm.
Ooh, the law of relativity, the law of polarity, and law of gender. So those are the 12 that she breaks down in her book. If you want to buy it, I think it might still be on sale on Amazon. I don't know. It's been out for a minute. And I remember when she signed my book, she signed it. Well, one of the ascended masters signed it through her and
Wow.
said like, you are here to do great things, you'll come into your mastery in this year, and here's what you are to do. And it was just like, wow. How cool is that? And so this channeling thing was something that was really, really new to me when my friend Rudy was sharing it to me. And he said, I know, I get it that you're doubting. He said, I did too, especially because my mom, not the most spiritual person I ever met, like at all. And he said she was this kind of typer,
Oh, wow.
like one little keystroke at a time, and that's as fast as she went.
Oh,
And
my.
he said, so she started talking about that she was channeling these, they said they were ascended masters. And he was like, okay, mom. Cuckoo, 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 right? And he said, but one time he walked into the room and she was sitting in front of the computer and he was hearing this. And the words were just typing like at warp speed across the screen. And he was like, whoa, mom. And hello, mom. And he was trying to talk to her and she was just like not there. She was just
Wow.
checked out, staring at the screen, and then it was just like typing through like this. And he was like, it was about then that I was like, Ascended Masters, huh? And started there asking, what are they saying? And he knew that everything that she was saying was not her, not even anything she had begun to pretend to comprehend or ever say before. And so that's when he really kind of got into it. And ultimately he ended up uh, doing her cover and her layout.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so when we did our first book, he did the layout, and he continues to be one of our layout artists to this day for our company and for our book, because he loves doing that, and he has ever since. Even though he's a talented cinematographer as well, but he squeezes in our layouts for us because it's like he loves it. So, so that's a little bit about kind of the history of when I first heard about these laws, where I heard about them. And so I thought it would be fun to break down, you and I, our understanding of 7 of them. Because I'm not sure we'd have enough time to do the 12. So I chose and coming in at the top 7, I feel like Casey Kasem today. Today's top 10.
Right? And I always talk about the universal laws of biology that nobody seems to know about. They were discovered back in 1980, and nothing has been done about them in the mainstream. So, we have to all learn these laws on our own because they're not taught in schools. And why do you think that is, Keith?
Well, we're not supposed to have any thoughts of our own, are we? So, and we're supposed to just like lockstep do what we're told and get get signed up for the sick care system. So we knew ways to biology. Wait a minute, could any of that have to do with healing the self? No, they don't want us to know that.
Right? Yeah, I mean, this goes back thousands upon thousands of years where these laws were what were taught in the mystery schools,
Hmm.
right? So these mystery schools, they knew this, they kept that wisdom, but the schools had to remain a mystery to the general public because the general public was not really allowed to know these laws.
Right. So you had to go to like Hogwarts, one of those schools to learn this.
Right? School of Pythagoras and all of these other, the mystery schools that were taught in ancient Egypt and Sumeria and all these other places where
Mm,
you know, it's for just a few beings.
mm. Well, here we are. We're going to go against the grain.
Right? Well, this
Usually
this
talk about.
is the time of the shift of consciousness, so it is time for us to all shift our consciousness, and this is where we are shifting our consciousness to, is
Mm,
to the universal laws. So we can simply work with the universe rather than trying to fight against it.
imagine that. Huh. Work with the law instead of trying to fight against it. Well, that's an interesting concept.
Ah, so the first law, what's the first law you want to talk about today?
Vibration.
Ah, okay.
And there's a quote right at the beginning of that chapter. It says, "Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates." By the Kybalion, Kybalion, the Kybalion, whatever that is. I'm gonna have to look that up. Wow, so vibration. Tell me, tell me about it.
Well, vibration, we always talk about, high vibe, we like hanging out with high vibe people. Vibration is that energy that we emit because our cells are constantly vibrating, they are emitting like rocks. If you drop a pebble in a pond, it's going to ripple out. So vibration means that all of the molecules of the universe are bumping up against each other in certain ways, and when they clash, then we have discord. But when they're vibrating in harmony, when they're all vibrating in the same direction, then we have peace. So we have been taught, and our thought patterns are also vibrations because thoughts are electrical. So we think about that vibration, what we think vibrates out through our cells and out into the universe. And then we are gifted things that match our vibration. So the higher we can vibrate, peace, ease, love, joy, bliss, happiness, excitement, enthusiasm, curiosity, those things bring us really cool stuff. But when we're vibrating in shame, blame, fear, doubt, rage, anger, it's not so cool.
That's true. I think about the law of vibration. I think of four words. Uh, Everything is in motion. Everything is in motion. And and a cool thing that they kind of do teach is they'll show music, right? And the waves of music and how they vibrate. And then they'll say classical music, and then they'll say rock music, and they'll show
The
different,
cymatics.
right? Yeah, different
Yep. The
vibrations
patterns.
captured, different patterns captured. And ultimately, the Emoto, the water thing, is kind of proof of that. In that, when you say hate, it makes ugly water, ugly distorted looking patterns. War, ugly distorted looking patterns. And then love, beautiful crystal.
Yep.
Compassion, beautiful crystal. And each and every one of them, each word, each vibration captured completely different. Even like, what's interesting of when I first saw the photos, is I would think that any positive statement, right, that had love in it, that they would all be the same, that they would vibrate the same, and that all the angry ones would be different. The fact that each and every one of them were the same, were completely different, that was like a huge aha for me at that time when I very first heard about that study, which was a long, long time ago, folks. Uh, at this point, but that was mind blowing. So, yeah, for me, it's you know everything, like you said, everything is a vibration, and it's which ones do I want to tap into, which ones do I want to emit, which ones do I want to send out to other people, because I believe people can feel vibrations,
Absolutely.
right? Even if we don't say hateful words to somebody, if we're thinking them. Have you ever had anybody just turn and look at you like this?
Right?
But I didn't say anything.
Mhm. Yeah. It's like,
Mm,
which vibrations do we want to embody? Because our body becomes the direct result of those vibrations, whether
mhm,
they are conscious or buried, whether we express our vibrations or we repress them. Any repressed vibrations get expressed through the cellular structure. It's like, hey, you got some stuff buried over here. It's not that our bodies are being attacked by diseases. They are literally showing how we are vibrating.
very cool. The next one is one that a lot of people felt was missing from the movie The Secret, which was all about attraction, right?
Mhm.
So, uh, for people who had never heard of the law of attraction, The Secret was mind blowing, and that's why it kind of took over the world and became such a worldwide phenomenon. It was a new law finally introduced to the people. And but for those of us who are like Mara and I had already wrote a book about how to create the relationship with your dreams and attract the perfect person using the law of attraction, before they were even calling it the law of attraction out there in marketing world. Uh, but the one that people felt was missing was the law of action, because The Secret was basically kept saying, if you're sitting on your couch and you say, I wish for $1 million, and then this wave goes vibration, wave vibration goes out of you, and then it creates the $1 million. But they forgot that probably the mailman's not going to knock on the door and hand you a check for $1 million. You might have to actually get up off your butt and take some action on what it is that you're wanting to attract into your life. So, so the simple way to define for me the law of action is get off your booty and get to work, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be work, but it's something to show the law, hey, I'm also willing to do this.
Mhm.
Example, we Mara and I started our own business many many years ago, and there have been a few times where the powers that be decided that they were gonna market a recession, because believe it or not, for them, a recession is profitable. Uh, but
Imagine that.
huh, but they sell the world a recession at that point. Everything tightens up. Nobody wants to invest any money in anything. So there was a time where it seemed like, wow, there's no business for us, and bills are coming up due, and what are we going to do? So I can only sit there and envision more business coming to me. I can not only speak words saying I am now attracting these people into our lives, but the action for me was go look for a job. Yes, I own my own business. I love being a business owner. I never want to work for anybody ever, which is why I started my own business. And will I show the universe that I'm willing to do whatever it takes, even if that means the thing that I want to do the least in the world is go get a job. So put together a resume, got ready, started getting ready to fire it out. Clients started coming. So for me, it was clear, whew, okay. Universe in me, universe out there, however you like to look at it, was clear. Oh, he's willing to do whatever it takes. Lesson learned. Here's some clients. You don't have to do that. Right. So a lesson I needed to learn was the law of action, right? Taking action. So that's one definition. What say you, Lisa?
Well, I mean, we definitely need to have all of our kind of our ducks in a row. I mean, we have to be completely aligned with the thing that we want. And if we are not willing to do whatever action is required to have the thing we want, then it's not going to happen. Right? Like if I need to, if I want to move to a different location, I need to take some action to actually scope out a new place. It's not going to just plop into my living room, a new place to live while I'm sitting on the couch. So we have to be willing to take those right and proper actions.
Yes. Hmm. And I believe that's one of my great qualities. I'm an action taker,
You
and
are, I love that.
and the funny thing is, people that know me, if I said years ago I was like the king of procrastination, they'd be like, "What?" And this is way back when I was with my practice wife, and she also was the queen of procrastination. And one day I saw it in her, and I called it out, and then I started thinking about, am I like that? And I started looking in my life and of all the things that I wanted and that I literally was doing nothing to create that, still continuing to work the regular job and be miserable. Right.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my God, I am I am that which I just cast, that spell I had just cast on her like it was only her. I realized I was that. And I was like, oh no, 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 no more. And that was one of the choices that I made, and just went cold turkey.
Ah,
No more procrastination. I just went cold turkey on that one and started taking action on everything, and just changed my life, and went from the type of person who, even if there was an assignment, something that I needed to do, instead of pushing it to the last minute, because when I looked at that, I thought, oh, there's an endorphin rush in that last minute thing. Saving, I got it in by the skin of my teeth, right? Ooh, that was a huge endorphin rush. And I was like, not sure I really need that. I'd rather just get the assignment, get it done, know that it's done. And then when it came time, be able to just send it forward, hit the button, and have all that time in between where I know that it's done. Like, that sense of accomplishment felt so much better than that quick little endorphin rush I got by holding it off to the last second.
yes, I can relate to that.
You're like, I resemble that remark.
Right? Oh my heavens. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the next law I wanted to look at was the law of cause and effect. And I think this is a huge and important one.
Yes.
And if only everyone knew that this one actually was true and that it was a law.
Yeah.
Because aren't there a lot of people causing a lot of, whew,
Unnecessary effects.
yes,
Undesirable effects.
domino effects, having no idea what's coming back, what's what's happening later, right? And that is what we put out, we get back, and it just goes like this. And I think mostly of my practice wife's grandmother, who was awful to everyone. She was so mean and super mean to me and would just say the most hateful and ugly things. And then she would wonder why people said hateful things to her, why nobody liked her, why she constantly had some type of ailment or sickness. Um, why do bad things keep happening to me? She kept saying. And I was like, well, some people call it karma, but it's also the law of cause and effect slash karma
Right?
was was paying her back big time. And it was interesting because sometimes it would be the venomous words that she said, and I can't think of one right in this moment, but those words would come back, and then what would come back to her was to me in a way that it was that word
Mhm.
creation, like that came back in a way that was like, whoa, 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 whoa. But couldn't say any of that to her, but it was huge for me.
Hmm. It's, when we talk about this, it's really interesting because when it comes to our physical bodies and our physical ailments, the physical ailment is the effect, but we're simply told that the cause is some disease, something outside of us that's attacking us.
Yes,
We
yes.
are not told that the cause is happening inside, that it's what we are keeping bottled up inside. It's the traumas and dramas that either we can't process, or that we it takes a while for us to release. Our bodies are simply the effect of our thoughts and emotions.
Mhm.
So it's really easy to see how there's a little bit of a miscommunication in the world of, here, we have the answer for you. Well, when we start to understand the law of cause and effect and how it affects our biology, we start to realize, oh, hey, on a second. Let me actually look at what caused this. That was my entire approach when I found myself facing cancer, was that like it was really clear to me that my emotional state, being suicidal, really was not helping the matter a single bit and was probably causing the situation. So I decided to look at what was actually causing the effect.
Huh.
And once I mitigated the cause, the effect went away all by itself.
Mm,
No pills, no fancy procedures, just awareness.
mm. Yeah, that was one of the key things that you taught me that helped bring about my healing as well. What is it? What is it that created that?
Exactly. If only we knew that all of the answers are right inside us.
Hmm, hmm.
Just have to look. We just have to become aware. We have to open up our awareness and realize that we're not being told the truth about a lot of different things. And it's not just about today, and it's not about bad people or any, it's like these patterns have been going on for 26,000 years or more on this planet.
That's that all.
That's it.
Hmm. Just sitting with that for a moment. Hmm. Yeah, thank you for all you taught me about that and the body, because I understood it in a lot of other ways, and then have really, really got clear about it with the body. And now I feel like I'm asking myself the right questions now. It comes up, it's like, oh, this is healing. What am I healing? What am I not looking at? What am I not digesting? What am I not, right?
Yeah,
Those,
mostly like, what have I just healed? You know,
yeah,
because when we mitigate the cause, the body has a little rebound effect as it finishes its healing process. So we have just been taught a little bit backwards about what's going on with our bodies.
right. I have this pain. I'm looking for a healing. I need a healing. You're already in the healing.
Exactly.
That was just so what? So mindful to me. Wait, what? So if you're trying to mask the pain or get rid of the pain, you're stopping or postponing the healing. What? You just have to embrace it, lean in and accept it, love it, and be nice to it and let it happen.
Go through it.
What? That
How
was
it's run its course. Yeah.
whoa, completely different than anything I had heard before. That was so cool. So, all right, well, here's one that I know that you've got a little more jiggy with the last few years since I met you, and that is the law of compensation. And it's been beautiful to watch you lean into, speaking of leaning into that. In the book, there's a quote by G.L. Oh man, put a name I can pronounce. Gurdjieff, Gurdjieff, Gurdjieff. G.L. Gurdjieff says, if you help others, you will be helped. Perhaps tomorrow, perhaps in 1,000 years, but you will be helped. Nature must pay off the debt. It's a mathematical law, and all life is mathematics. Ooh, the law of compensation is, so that was the end of the quote from him. The first sentence in the chapter is the law of compensation is the law which helps us to understand abundance and how we can deal with financial matters. The way that I heard it in a way that really landed for me was you can't outgive God.
Mhm.
Uh, right? Because it was in, and the funny thing is, it really came in dogmatic ministry, right? From a church. And this one church is like, you tithe 10% of everything that you get, right? That you attract, that you bring into your life, you tithe 10%. And because of that, you're taken care of, right? It comes back multiplied many, many times whatever you give. And I, the interesting thing is, even though I felt weird in that church and there were a lot of things that did not vibrate in a way that in felt good to me in my body, that was one of the ones that I did see, like the poorest family come in as new members and tithe and then receive all of this abundance and come out of being the poor family so fast that it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like I did see evidence of it, and it's like, well, you can't outgive God. And I was like, okay. And so that one kind of always stuck with me. And then I heard, as you give, you receive, right? And so there's a couple different ways. I think when we think of compensation, we think of just the receiving part. So I receive compensation for the coaching that I give, right? But the thing that I love to teach spiritual people is that sometimes they feel that they're only worth this much compensation, this teeny little bit. If they get any more than what they may be able to survive on, then they're greedy, or they're uh, money hungry, or all of that. And if they grew up in dogmatic religion or not, and now they're super woo woo spiritual people, I think they still take that one thing with them, even though they left the dogma and the church. I think they still take that money is the root of all evil, is what people heard over and over again, is what they heard, but is not actually the whole quote. It's the love of money. So if that became your number one factor, and you would do anything to get it, even step over other people, hurt other people, kill people, whatever it is,
Mhm.
then that would be the root of all evil. Crazy thought, right? Is that our Aramaic translation of devil and evil, by the way, is crazy thought. And so it's like, crazy thought is, if I have more than just enough to survive, then I'm money hungry.
Mhm.
Truth is that there's also another one that says it's God's great gift to give you the kingdom. That one really landed in
Mm.
relation to this one as well, meaning it's okay for us to have as much as we want to attract to us in stuff, right? I mean, we didn't come here just to accumulate stuff, but if money is stuff, and if I personally attract $10 million, I'm constantly thinking of how many people that I would be able to help with that. I'm not thinking of all the different ways to spend it. I'm thinking of, ooh, and then I could do this, do this, and do this, and do this. And I'm thinking of all the ways I could surprise other people and help their life financially with that amount. Uh, so it's really what the way that we think it, the way that we set it up, right? So if we think that the law of compensation is just fancy words in a book, then we'll continue to not be compensated in a way that really honors the work that we do, the gifts that we give. And it is in our willingness to ask for what we're actually worth. Worth, think about that word. That shows universe as people our worth, and then has them willing to give that promissory note gift to us. So that is my mini mini speech. I can go on and on about this one, about compensation and what came through me and to me in this moment. What say you, my dear Lisa?
Yeah. Well, as the grand beings of light that we are, our light, if you think about the sun, the light in the sky, right? Or the starlight, stars in the sky, the light emanates outward. So our energy and our vibration by nature emanates outward. But in this world, when we think in general, when we think about money, it's like, ugh. And that energy moves back inward. It flips it around, right? So when our energy, when we are contracted, when the energy is moving in the opposite direction than what it is normally designed to move, we stop the flow. So with money being evil, the root of all evil, I look at evil as the opposite of live. Live is what we're here to do. Opposite evil, it makes us contract and compress, and it makes us suffer instead of actually live. So the energy that is really implanted in money right now is that energy of contraction, restriction. There's not enough, it's manipulative. we're going to use it to, harness your energy. And, um, so a lot of people are really contracted when it comes to money. And kind of what I discovered was that the more I worked with all of the other laws of attraction and just really got my light shining in the right direction again, and just started clearing everything and using my light, the money just started to automatically right itself. So I didn't have to really focus a whole lot on the money. It wasn't like, oh my God, I gotta go get another job. Or it wasn't I have to make more money. It was, how do I give more? Because once your energy is moving in the outward direction, like the natural flow, it's like you become naturally giving. And the more you give, the more you receive. And it's just a natural cycle. So a hack for anybody that's looking for a hack for anything to get out of any troubling situation, notice the situation you're in and notice if it makes you contract. If you see that your energy is moving inward and backwards, making you feel small, heavy, dense, get your energy outward again. Imagine yourself as that grand being of light, a ball of light, literally like the sun, and start flowing your energy consciously outward. Flow your light outward and just make it a habit every day of noticing the flow of your light. Before I do it, before I get out of bed, I just make sure that my light is shining. I look in my aura, the energy field around me, and I make sure that I'm filling it up with my light so that my light is moving outward so I can start my day in the right direction.
There we go. Unmute. uh, I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. My next one is the law of attraction, and I think I won't spend too much time on that one. I think people have heard of this one. Uh, El Moira, which is one of the ascended masters that she was channeling. Norma Milanovic said, "What is hidden within will dictate what will appear on the outside." Ooh,
Exactly.
right.
Yep.
Love that one. And that's the right use.
Unexpressed stuff has to get expressed somehow.
Yes, yes, yes. And like attracts like. I think people can misuse that when it comes to relationships. We feel they feel like opposites attract is what people say, and it's like on the surface stuff that's true in relationships. So there
When it's
may be
magnetism, when you're talking magnets, yes.
well, I feel like here's why they attract. I think on the surface it seems like opposites attract because she likes to dance and he doesn't. He likes the opera and she doesn't. So those things don't necessarily match. But if you strip away all the surface stuff and you get to the core values of those people, that's why they're together and that's why they were attracted because of the actual, the real stuff. The rest of that stuff is just surface stuff. So it's like, oh, opposites attract. I always felt like, do they? When I heard that, even even when I was young, because I've always been so inquisitive. And even as a child, I went to my a few of 50th anniversary parties. So my great aunt and uncle, and I went to a few of those. And as a kid, I went up to the couple and said, "Why is it that you think that you've lasted for 50 years, right? How why do you think that is?" And because they do not seem like it would ever be two people that should be together. As a lot of old couples you've seen may not on the appearance. And they spoke to the qualities that were the same. well, we're both just love to be loved. And we both are really great at doing that. Or, hmm, believe it or not, even though we bicker on the surface and all of that, we're really great communicators behind closed doors. These things that I heard were just like, whoa, the qualities that were the real ones were a match. And so I was very, very clear about that from a young age, right? Like attracts like, the qualities, and the rest of the stuff is surface stuff. So it was fun to get to teach that when Mara and I wrote the 7 Steps book and started teaching people in relationships. It was like, finally I get to teach this thing I learned when I was really young. Asking old people, how the heck are you together? It doesn't look like you should ever be together. But so yeah, it's again, what we believe and perceive, we will we will attract. What we say, what comes about out of our mouth, we attract. And so anything that I have in my life, a great question, if it doesn't seem like something that I'm happy to have, would be, how did I attract that? How did I create that? What thought pattern? What did I do? And I would ask myself that, so that when I get the answer to that question, then I know that that's a change that I would love to make, so that I didn't continue to attract that thing that wasn't feeling great, that thing that wasn't feeling that great into my life. So that's my attraction download for now. What do you got?
Well, we carry our lineage, our family lineage in our DNA. And so a lot of us are here to end um these patterns of, whatever the patterns are, like a pattern of betrayal in the family or whatever. If your mother was feeling betrayed while you were in the womb, that energy goes into the DNA. So then we start carrying that energy in our own DNA. So then we attract partners who give us the opportunity to resolve the pattern. So either we will attract a partner who will betray us, or we will attract a partner who we will betray. So then that act will give us the opportunity to wake ourselves up and go, oh my gosh, like I don't want to continue this pattern. And that act will then give us the opportunity to resolve the pattern. Once resolve it in ourselves, then we resolve it for that whole ancestral lineage. That pattern stops with us. So we attract the people that are going to help us to resolve what we need to be able to resolve as well.
I love that. Beautiful. Lisa's perspective.
It's just science. It's like just how science is how the universe works. The universal laws is what science actually is. We just have scientists who are going, how the heck does this work? Well, here we are talking about this is it. This is actual science.
Science was a study by people that was paid for by a corporation to
Yeah.
create a desired result.
Yeah, right? There's a difference between science with a capital S and science with a capital dollar sign, folks.
Yeah, if only they would clearly market that way, it would be great.
I know, right?
uh,
Brought to you by science.
and coming in at number one is the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. There's a great quote by Buddha. Good thoughts will produce good actions, and bad thoughts will produce bad actions. Hatred does not cease by hatred at any time. Hatred ceases by love. Buddha. Whew. Nice, nice, nice. I love it. Perpetual transmutation of energy gives meaning to the words free will. We have the power to choose the direction of our lives. Thoughts are forms of energy, which means the shape and conditions of our lives. For example, if a person wants to enjoy abundance but does not feel worthy or is unable to visualize gifts of wealth, then this goal is unlikely to be achieved. Right? Thoughts are forms of energy. We shape the condition of our lives. Whew. In Walking with My Angels, there's a part where I'm working with my angel every day, and my ex-wife, my practice wife, is there with me, my girlfriend at the time, not married yet, and she there was a time when he had a vision of my whole life and told me about it, and ultimately that's how he proved to me that he was who he was and why I should listen to him. So at one point she said, when you saw Keith's whole life and you saw him as an old man, was I there? And he's like, don't ask questions that you don't want to know the answer to. Right? Just knowing the future is not a thing that you're supposed to do, and not certainly not something that I'm going to do for you. And she just kept asking that question, and he kept saying things like, it's up to you. What I saw or what I didn't see is of no significance. It's your choices that you make that will dictate what I saw. And so if I give it away, right, then you'll create that. And finally, she harassed him and harassed him until finally he was just like, really? Okay, you want to know? And then he was like, no, you're not there. And she was like, see, I told you you would leave me. Because she had told her father left her family when she was young. She had always created that men always leave her with that story that she continued to create over and over again. And so she literally looks at me as if some vision that he saw of the future would dictate that outcome, because he followed up by saying, and that's up to you. That's if you continue down the same exact path you are right now, making the same choices that you would have made. And now that you have this information, you could make different choices and change that reality. Because what I saw or what I didn't saw is of no significance. All she heard was no. Every word was that after that fell on deaf ears, right? You have free will to make choices that will keep this man in your life. Make those choices and he will. It's like, but no is all she heard. So she said the words and then ultimately created that and just did something so horrible that I was just like, I'd rather be by myself than be with someone who would do that to try to get my attention. So that's a huge, huge example for me of the law of perpetual transmission of energy. I can choose the path of my life. The choices that I make in this moment dictate what happens 5 minutes from now, tomorrow, and down the line. And so I can choose whatever path I want and then make choices to continue down that path. And then ultimately I will create that thing that I wanted. But that free will choice, right? We can make any choice and, know it or not, be creating a reality that we don't love. Because people say, why can't I always hear my why can't I hear my guardian angel's voice like you do? Have you asked? Because guardian angels, they're only here to love you unconditionally and get you to your predetermined expiration date, like move things out of the way so you don't die too early. Like, that is what their job is: protect you, love you, and that is it, because you have free will. So they can't come in and do this unless you ask for it. So that's another proof of free will, right? And then people will do the evocation that I teach them, and then start to ask questions and then look for signs, because it's not always going to start off with the voice that might scare the crap out of people and send some people into the hospital, the funny farm. I hear voices now. right? It's not always going to be so blatant or a big jump uh, because that would be too much too soon. That's the words I remember hearing from my angel. Too much too soon. That's why. And so I started look for signs after you asked the question, because the signs are everywhere. The answers are everywhere.
Exactly. And
Little
I think,
sideways, still on topic.
yeah, like, and I also think that, kind of along those same lines, I love that example that you gave about, betrayal or whatever, because I was talking about that with the DNA, and it's like when those patterns are in our DNA, we are just driven by those patterns. We just continue to respond to those patterns that are still locked in to the DNA. And until we become conscious, then we're just simply driven by those patterns. And I don't think that we really have free will, so to speak, when we're unconscious, when we're just allowing those patterns to run rampant. But when we start to make more conscious choices and we start to recognize that, you know, in all of creation, there's light and there's dark, there's love and there's fear. We are either choosing the light and the love, or we're choosing the fear. And once we start to realize, "Oh, wait a minute, like I'm living in fear and lack and guilt and shame, and I have a choice. I can actually change that. Like it's not because the government did this or the war did that or these people did this to me. It's like, oh, wait a second. If I change what's going on my internal environment, then I can change my external environment. Oh, then we start to have free will because we start to recognize, whoa, wait a second. Like I'm letting my fear of I don't want this thing to happen. So now I'm just trying to avoid the thing that I don't want. And that's just reaction mode. And that's not free will mode. I mean, we're freely just choosing to react, but we don't have the ability to choose differently until we wake up and realize, oh, I can choose differently. I can start turning my light back on. I can start reversing the flow of the energy instead of cowering and being resistant and afraid and in perpetual, I got to protect myself mode. I can actually open up and I can allow God, source, prime creator, universe to flow to and through me. And I can become that empty vessel, and I can have my free will, be like, hey, I would love to be able to do this. Show me how to do that. Help me do this thing. And then we just simply get guided to where we need to be. That's the free will when we're able to surrender and allow the universe, God, source, creator, guides, angels to give us a hand.
I love that distinction. That's beautiful. Free will equals conscious choice. Love that. And that whole piece leads into our our next work together, our next workshop, because we know that we are the creators, and that we uh, certainly the creators of the way we feel when people say something to us. The truth is, the only thing that's true is they said something to us, and everything else after that is something we made up. So how can we have tools to not take things other people say personally? And now that we've all experienced Thanksgiving, how was that for everyone? Did you by any chance get triggered at that family dinner? We hope not. And and if you did, and when knowing that Christmas is coming, and that every day there are people in our lives who may say something that makes our stomach tighten, or that feels upsetting in that moment. So it's how do we process that information in a way that helps us feel good fast. That's the quickest way I can say it. So we are doing a workshop called How to Navigate the Holiday Season in a Peaceful Way. And that is something that I personally have got really, really great at over the years. And it wasn't always this way, I'm going to tell you. I spent a lot of holidays with my mother and my grandmother, who were very sharp tongued, very sharp tongued, and would say things that were just venomous. And even during the holidays. And I remember at one point when I had both of my boys, and Mara and I were with my mom, and she's getting up getting up there in the years, and we were all together, and she was just lashing, just lashing at every lashing out at everybody. We all were getting it. And at one point I just grabbed both boys and said, "Hey, you want to go outside?" And they're like, "Please." And I went out into the garage and closed the door, and we just we just talked about it. And I was like, "So could could this stop now? Like, we're the ones. Could we not only go in and just not be triggered by anything she says, because we know it's coming for the rest of the day. It's coming, and it's just her stuff. So could we, for today, not get triggered anymore about what she says? Maybe just look at each other and smile, and literally let it go that fast. And from this point on, can we not perpetuate this type of holiday? Like, can we never experience this kind of thing again? And and we agreed on that, and we went in. We had a great time with her, and then that ultimately ended up being the last holiday that we all got to spend together. And then she ended up passing away. And when we were able to, a few years later, get together and have a holiday together, uh, we remembered that. And so we were like, so let's do that. And we did. And did nobody say anything that would potentially trigger? We still have the stuff. It was just that when it was said, it was just let go. It was like, oh, oh, there's a zinger. And you were waiting for that person to react, and then it just hit the floor, and that person just let it go. And we had our very first holiday without any of that. And it felt so good. And we were like, that's what we're doing from now on. This is great. This is so much better. And so it was simply the choice to let go. That there are so many other tools, because not everybody will be able to just let go, right? And so we've have developed a lot of those tools over the years, and are looking forward to sharing them and how to navigate the holiday season in a peaceful way.
Yeah, and the external world is so much about consumerism and doing things, and there's you got to go here and do this and see that and go buy these things and make sure you have all your gifts, and all, and there's so much hustle and bustle and running around, and it gets very easy to get very stressed over
Mm,
the holiday season by all
yeah.
of the things that we have to do. So to be able to reframe all of those things and to be able to look and see, like, are all of these things necessary? You
Mm,
know, do we have to go buy 47 things for our kids? Do we have to go and make sure that we have all of this stuff? Do we have to decorate everything? You know, Not saying that we can't. I mean, it's great, it's fun, but anything that becomes a chore or an obligation, it's like, or a stressor, like, we have the ability to mitigate those things, to reframe those things, to approach them from a different perspective. And, how can we make the holidays more joyful, more peaceful? This is that time of year where it gets quieter in the northern hemisphere. We start going inside. It gets darker earlier. It gets colder outside. But it also is this season of the year where, we've got all of these beautiful opportunities to create joy, to create peace, to create a special ambiance. And how can we do that without it being stressful?
Mm. Yes. That's it. That's it. That's what we will share with you. Ways to do that.
Exactly. Because really, what we're celebrating is the return of the light. This is the solstice, is actually what is astrologically being celebrated. And that's what is in alignment with nature. And we have just celebrated on December 21st. We celebrate that shortest day of the year in the northern hemisphere, that is the darkest day, the most darkness on in our part of the world. And then the light starts to return, and the birth of Christ, that celebration is the return of light to the planet. It's a metaphor for the return of the light. So we want to be able to turn our own light back on. This is the entire shift of consciousness right now. We are moving from the darkness into the light, from the age of darkness into where, and in that age of darkness, the dark forces have been in charge for a very long period of time. Now it's up to us
Mm.
to take command, to be able to govern ourselves. And
Mm.
we actually have the ability to do that really, really well. So by taking charge of our own holidays, we can start to set a tone for the rest of our lives, to be able to create peace and ease and joy and goodwill for all.
Beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. So there will be a link below that you can click that link and go to the page. It'll tell you even more detailed what we'll be doing with you and sharing with you and teaching you as we do this beautiful play shop / workshop, whichever you like better. Together. We'll do that
Gift
together.
that we get to give. It's a gift for Keith and I to be able to work together. It is a gift that we love to give our gifts to, to open awareness and consciousness.
Mm.
And if you would like to give yourself this gift, please click the link and give yourself the gift of how to navigate the holiday season in a peaceful way, because this is a gift that gives long after the holiday season is over.
Absolutely. That is true. Well,
Beautiful.
thanks for having me once again on
Thank
Solution
you.
Sunday.
It's always a pleasure to have you on Solution Sunday. We love these conversations. I hope that everybody that has been listening has been loving this conversation as well. When we start to learn how to work with the universe rather than trying to fight against it, the entire tide turns. We start to turn our own light back on. We start to draw in divine consciousness, divine awareness, and we start to live in peace and harmony and abundance, joy. It's up to us to end all those old patterns and allow heaven on earth to flow through us out into the world so that we can live these experiences. So thank you so much for joining us today. If you'd like to learn more about Keith, type Keith Leon S into Google. You always say this, so I just figured I would say it, and you will find Keith right there. So And if you would like, please go to theinsideeffects.com and check out the movie that Keith and I have. Keith made the movie. He graciously allowed me to be in the movie. If you haven't seen it yet, please go check it out to see how the body heals itself. There's a book, there are t-shirts, there's the film, there are all kinds of beautiful ways to express that. So Keith, thank you so much for all you do for this beautiful world, spreading so much love and light.
You're welcome. And thank you.
You're welcome.
Here, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of your day.